2. I have to re-find that on my stuff. Okay, so it has 2 points graph right now, but the scale of this graph is counting by 2s. So when this is in the middle, that's an odd number. So keep that in mind. It says point M is located right here. Again, if it's in the middle, that's an odd number. State the perpendicular slope. So I'm just going to find the slope algebraically, because that would probably be the easiest thing right here. Which was... So the slope of this line is negative 2/5. The perpendicular slope would be the negative reciprocal, so 5/2. Now part B is a little challenging because you have to remember that this is counting by 2s. So if my slope needs to be parallel to negative 2/5, I'm going to, every time I go up a half, what looks like a half, I'm really going up 1. So if I go up 1, 2, and then over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the middle, and then I keep doing that, I'll list all these points. But all of these points would be one of the ones you would need for this. So that was negative 9, negative 1. Can't go anymore. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, hold on 1 second. So you could have plotted any of these points for part B, but you have to count using the halves, or remember that this is counting by 2s. And how was your question? How to which part? I don't know what you're asking.
I don't get
What the question is asking.
really kind of fun.
So it's asking you to plot another point that has not fraction numbers that would lie on the line that's parallel to this one, and that would go through this point.
So if you just reflect it.
Reflect what? Reflect what points?
Just any of them. So, because you said the same thing, that it's like the same
It was so
line.
fun.
Guys, I need you to focus. Say
Unless,
that one more time.
like reflect it, because you said it has to be the same line as that. It's just
So reflect is probably not a great word, because that would mean it would go this way.
because when reflect is on the other side of that.
Reflect would mean that it's now a negative when it was positive, or vice versa. You could shift them down, sure, and put like this point right here. It would still just need to make that line. Then you would have to figure out what that point is by moving it. It's easier to count it this way. Did that answer your question? So which part are you lost at now? Okay, so we had to plot another point. So you had to plot a point that was not a fraction when you wrote it or plotted it. That would be parallel to this one. That went through this one. So if I were to draw this line, these points go through this line.
So they just have to find it on the chart.
You just have to graph it. Yes. So you don't need all of these points, you just needed one of them. Other questions on that before we move on to 4? I think it was 4. Yeah. Okay.
Which was
So Ashley and Alejandro have to determine if the two lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Ashley thinks the lines are parallel. Alejandro thinks that the lines are neither. We have to solve this one by subtracting 6x. Divide. But yes, that's what I said. So when we look at y equals negative 2x plus 7 and y equals negative 2x plus 7, it's actually neither, because if they had different y-intercepts, they would be parallel. But because they have the exact same y-intercepts, it's the same line. So they can't be parallel if they lie on top of each other. So it's actually neither. Okay, questions on that one?
Okay, so for our parallel, one has to be negative, one has to be positive.
The slopes have to be the same, but the y-intercepts have to be different. So if they had negative 2x plus 7 and negative 2x some other number, they would have been parallel.
Have you been working here since 2016?
The year after.
Um,
Other questions on this? No, this is just when the school opened.
oh,
So they open that soon.
last
It's-
summer.
But okay.
That was like years ago.
That was like 8
No,
years
I
He
was
said-
open like 2005 or something.
What? No, they
Then why'd you
built
say
it.
last summer?
I said last summer.
No, he said that soon.
Oh, I thought you said
Okay,
last
take out your parallel and perpendicular notes from last class. Go back to this page. We are going to finish this. I'm going to give you a small amount of time to work on Delta Math, and then we're going to get into our other notes.
I've seen it before.
I swear.
Let's refocus. Okay, so last class we did number 1. Now we're going to do 2, 3, and 4. Brooklyn, did you find it? Okay.
I can't see.
I'll just take it. It's not around. Like it's.
Okay. So in number 2, so not that table at all. So you can sit up here, if you can see, or right here. Okay, great. The point slope form? Yes. it is. So we're going to use that again, but before we do anything, we have to solve this equation. By getting rid of x. And dividing everything by negative 3.
Wait, why are you doing X?
Getting rid of x.
Oh.
We're solving for y. So this becomes 1/3 x minus 3. Now that's not the answer to our problem. We still have to use our point slope. We know it's parallel, so the line that's going to be parallel to this is going to be the same, 1/3. And then we're going to use this slope and this point not this y-intercept, I don't need that, in my point slope equation. So let's do that. So this would be y minus a negative 1 or plus 1 equals 1/3 times x minus 3. Then go ahead and distribute. And subtract 1 on both sides. What is that new equation? We're missing the y-intercept.
Negative times minus 2.
So that is parallel to the original and has a different y-intercept. Questions on that before we do number 3? Okay. And number 3, now we're dealing with perpendicular. So again, we can get rid of the y-intercept. And we have to change the slope. Make it perpendicular. Make it the negative reciprocal. What would that new slope be?
Negative 1 over 2.
Negative 1 over 2. Because if I took this, it's really over 1, and I flipped it, and I made it negative, that's what that would be. Because it's perpendicular.
So you only work with the
So with the parallel, we keep it the same. The perpendicular, we change it first. If you don't change this first, all your work and answer will be wrong. Okay. Now that we've done this, then we can do this process. Y minus 3 equals negative 1/2 times x minus 4. And distribute and solve. What is that final equation? Plus what? Plus 5. Yes. So I can see that this is perpendicular to the original because the slopes are negative reciprocals. Any questions on that before we move on to 4? Okay. 4 is like 2, but we have to change the equation first. We'll do that off to the side. Because we can't see what the slope is as is. It needs to be in slope intercept form. So get rid of 5x. And divide everything by negative 5. I'm sorry, not by 3. Yeah. I was looking at the 5. That's what I said. Anyway. And just like in number 2, this is not our answer. We've now just rewrote this original into slope intercept form. We now have to change the slope so that it's perpendicular. What would that new slope be? Positive 3 over 5. So really at this point, I'm not using anything from this. I can ignore the whole thing. And I'm going to use this point and put that in to our point slope. So y minus 1 equals 3/5 times x minus a negative 5 or plus 5.
Why does it not matter if you put the negative there? It's so negative.
So you could, you mean this one?
Yeah.
You could put x minus a negative 5. but then you'd have to change that to a plus. I'm just skipping that step. And that final equation,
Y equals 3 over 5x plus 4.
yes.
So whenever I get like it was negative 5, and it was supposed to be x minus negative 5, but since there's two negatives, it was positive 5.
Other questions on that? Okay. I'm going to give you about 10 minutes to work on this Delta Math Test due next week. And then we're going to stop and move on.